This month, March, contained two of my most anticipated movies of the year, Dune Part 2 and Kung Fu Panda 4. What did I think of these movies? Let's dive right into them. Just for a quick point of reference, I loved the first Dune movie. It's basically Star Wars, but 10 times more engaging and interesting. One of the most richest experiences to ever be had watching a film, with a very slow and simple story, but you still manage to get sucked into it because of how much it explores every aspect of its world and characters. Yes, it's all set up, but the setup is super investing, super well filmed, super well put together, and doesn't require too much for you to have a great time. I really love it. It's like a 9 out of 10 for me. So as you can expect, I was pretty excited for this movie's sequel. And as you already expected, it's a masterpiece. Easily my favorite movie of 2024 so far. It currently stands as one of the highest rated movies of all time on Letterboxd. Not saying the first movie isn't already great, but this is how you make a perfect sequel. It takes everything that was awesome about part 1 and maintains the same great elements. Not to the point where it becomes a rehash, but so that it is able to continue the story. It's kind of like how I feel about the Spider-Verse films. The first movie was all about introducing us to the universe and lore of Spider-Man, and the sequel takes those elements to wild, extreme new levels that leave you on the edge of your seat. And with Dune Part 2, you get just that. This is a much more exciting and emotional experience from beginning to end. The first movie was all about laying the foundation, introducing us to the world, story, and characters. The sequel takes all those aspects and continues on all of them, expanding the story, giving our main characters arcs, and building out the world, which is basically nothing but dry sand dunes and still being a location you want to see more of. Adding to that, it's got some fantastic action sequences that bring the tension up. Put it all together and you got some kick-ass sci-fi. I don't want to risk spoiling anything about this movie because I want you guys to experience it for yourself, because this is a film that deserves all the acclaim and accolades it gets. As someone who thought the first film was awesome, I'm very happy they managed to keep it up with the sequel. If for some reason you haven't seen the first Dune movie, I highly recommend you do. Go in with the lowest of expectations as possible and get ready for some movie magic. And then check out the sequel, it's really good too, 10 out of 10. If this somehow doesn't make my top 3 movies of 2024, then that will just show how insanely good of a year this was for movies. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Then there's Kung Fu Panda 4. This is another one I was looking forward to, while at the same time wasn't anticipating much from it. From the trailers, it kind of felt like another 3, in the sense that it didn't seem like they were trying as hard as the first 2 movies. Plus, the absence of so many characters especially didn't hype me up as much as I wanted to be. So I finally watched it, and it's okay. It wasn't a terrible movie, it's perfectly fine, but it didn't really do enough to justify why it needed to exist. I mean, I do like that it tried to find a way to continue the story where Poe's not going to be the Dragon Warrior anymore, so his role is changing. So I can kind of see where they could have dealt with the story from that front, but I don't think they executed it in the best way. I feel like they tried to do too much in the first half. The new city Poe goes to isn't particularly memorable, and new characters keep getting piled on with no chance to grow in the audience. The new villain Chameleon is fine, but she's easily the worst villain in the entire series. No backstory, no real motivation, we get nothing from her. She doesn't even get to show off any cool supernatural abilities until the last act, and that's frustrating, since the whole premise of her character is that she can summon back past villains, which should be interesting, but it's glossed over so fast. We get one cool scene between her and Tai Lung, and the other 2 villains don't speak once, which really sucks for a villain that should be the biggest foe in the series. With the adventure itself that Poe is on, I found it a little fun, especially when we move into some cool action sequences and we get to hear an actually sick track of Crazy Train. But the journey that he's on just feels more of the same. Like, once again, he's trying to find out what his identity is, what his purpose in life is. It just feels very predictable. He doesn't learn anything this time, and the extent of him trying to be spiritual leader is that he has the staff of wisdom that Oogway gave him in the 3rd movie, and he tries to speak wise proverbs and always fails. Weak! And don't worry, we'll get back to this movie feeling more of the same later. Zen, played by Aquafina, is Poe's new successor. That's not a spoiler, you all saw that coming. And she's not interesting either. They do a little bit of backstory with her, but she's not really an interesting character. It also doesn't feel like she should be this friendly toward Poe immediately after they first meet each other. Heck, even my mom predicted that she would eventually betray Poe before it actually happened. All I'm really trying to say is that they could have handled the story better. And generally speaking, I feel like this movie lost a lot of what makes Kung Fu Panda special. The first 3 movies, as my dad put it, all have this sense of sentimental value, and that each film has that pizzazz feel, taking a premise that sounds silly on paper and actually adding some heart and depth to it. Each movie has a natural beginning, middle, and end, not only having new foes to battle off, but also having a strong journey for Poe to be on and grow from. But with this movie, you can definitely feel a little bit of franchise fatigue, in the sense that it just feels like more Kung Fu Panda, but without the same imagination and charm. They add some new stuff into the mix, and it doesn't always work. The villain is given little to no development. Like the third film, they overplay the humor. And to quote my little sister, it doesn't have nearly of the same emotional punch as the other movies. Anyway, I know I've been complaining about a lot of stuff in this movie, and they are significant problems, but that doesn't make this movie an abysmal failure in my opinion. It does still have some of the same fun the first 3 movies had. The animation is still solid, as you can see from a lot of the fight sequences and how they expanded the universe. The action and choreography is still really strong, especially once the climax gets started. Jack Black kills it as always, and they managed to keep intact some of the same style of humor. Even though the new characters weren't that great, they weren't bad. They were all still pretty funny, especially with the whole Proverbs joke they throw in at certain moments. And even though they didn't need to be there, both of Poe's dads are funny too. They didn't have to come along for the journey, but they still stole some scenes together. Just a really fun duo, and not a gay one. I'm really tired of people saying that. The best part about this review is that I managed to get multiple reactions to it. So first, my family. So we just got back from seeing Kung Fu Panda 4. We're over here on the stand right now. Dad, what did you think about the movie?
Probably my least favorite of the 4.
Yeah?
Yeah. The other stories had more sentiment of like a coming of age and fulfilling a role for Poe. And this one just kind of didn't seem to match the trend.
I like the animation, but the storyline was so I give it a 7. Nah. In all 3 movies, if you notice, they always add a sad part, and then they have that song inside the background, which makes it emotional. But there wasn't really one. So.
So here are a couple of other people that got to see Kung Fu Panda 4. A couple of buddies of mine from school. Yeah. So this is Gavin. What'd you think about the movie?
Oh, it was alright. It was my least favorite out of all 4. They're all really good, but from ranking is 1, 2 to 3 and 4. It was alright though. They were all good.
Yeah. What'd you guys think about the movie?
Not as good as the other ones.
Yeah.
The storyline was a little bit bad, but honestly, the animation.
The ending was kind of weak. The animations are very good
The
though.
animation was great.
Yeah.
I didn't like the battles.
Wait, what'd you say?
I didn't like the ending.
You didn't like the ending? Everyone doesn't like the end. What about you, Sam? Wait, Sam, did you guys see the movie?
No, I didn't see it.
Wait, Garrett, what about you?
I did. It was okay, I guess. It was still good, but it wasn't like the best. Like the animation did get better, yeah. But like, yeah, I really like how they brought back like Tai Lung and stuff.
There wasn't enough Tai Lung.
Yeah, they need more Tai Lung. Tai Lung carried.
They needed more of the villains too.
Yeah,
like none of them even talked.
I know they were just background characters.
Yeah. When you put it all together, this is a decent enough installment that I still appreciate for trying to take the franchise in a different direction and tell a new story. But it pales in comparison to the rest of the movies, the first 2 especially. But at the end of the day, it's still Kung Fu Panda. It still delivers the laughs and the engaging action you want to see. I'm glad I saw it because even if it didn't turn out as great as I thought it would be, the franchise as a whole is still one of my favorites. Unless Kung Fu Panda 5 somehow turns out even worse. Damn it. Anyway, I guess I'll give this movie a 6 out of 10. Once again, not a terrible film, but also not impressive enough to be a worthy installment. If you're a diehard fan of Kung Fu Panda, I still recommend it, as long as you don't go in expecting it to be the best movie in the franchise. Also, whose idea was it to put Tenacious D's cover of Britney Spears' Baby One More Time in the end credits?
Give me baby one more time.
I mean, like, I love the song, but like, why it isn't in Kung Fu Panda? Like, it doesn't fit.